Hi, everybody. Welcome to be here. And I thank you for joining us. I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. This, of course, is Candid Frank Live. Welcome to the Spanglish World Radio Network on Zingo TV channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate, leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and all smart TVs 2016 forward. And don't forget to subscribe to Candid Frank Stanisci 1030 on YouTube and check out all the programming we do. Now, joining me as usual is Aaron William Freeland. Aaron, how you doing, buddy?
Doing well, Frank. How are you?
Good. How about The Rock?
The Rock were absolutely fantastic. Great to
They
be
were
out there in
rocking it.
Hamilton to watch them play.
They were rocking it. I saw some pictures. Looked like you had fun.
Very much so.
That's awesome. Did you bump into Gary?
I did actually happen to run into both he and Esme. Congratulations to her on her 60th birthday. She's looking absolutely fantastic. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
There's something I could say, but I'm not going to say it. I wished her a happy birthday too. Well, she won't watch the program. Gary's got a surprise for her down the road.
Well, don't spoil it.
She won't watch this show. She doesn't like sports.
Yeah, but on the off chance that she does, don't spoil it.
It's not spoiled. That's it. All right, dude. Well, it's you as you said on your note. It's playoff eve. Well, it's the playoffs are today, but playoff eve for the Maple Leafs. And the Lightning are coming here for two games, Tuesday and Thursday. Two games that if the Leafs win both, very good. If they win one, not so good. If they lose both, very bad. How do you, I can't ask you how they're going to do because, I mean, it's a silly question, right? But I'll ask this way. If they win, what will they look like? What will the game look like for the Leafs to win?
So Tampa Bay is very, very good at feeding a couple different people the puck and letting them work their magic, that sort of thing. The Leafs are going to need their shutdown line to be 110% effective against guys like Kucherov, Point, Sergachev, and Stamkos. It's a lot of players that you have to be effective against in a short period of time, and it's a very, very tall order. But the Leafs went 2-1 against the Lightning so in the regular season. Now, I am well aware that the playoffs are a completely different beast than the regular season. The last regular season matchup that they had was actually back on December 3rd. The Lightning won that game 4-3 in overtime with Braden Point getting 2 goals, hence my comment about needing to shut him down. But since then, there have been changes. There have been injuries. Tanner Jeannot, who was supposed to be their big deadline acquisition, is out. Steven Stamkos has had 33 goals and 51 assists for the Lightning. Point has had 7 goals and 6 assists over the last 10 games. The Lightnings over the last 10 were 4-6-0. The Maple Leafs, Marner had 30 goals and 69 assists. Austin had 4 goals and 6 assists over the past 10 games. Some of their players are getting hot when they should be. Some players are cooling off. The last 10 games, the Leafs were 7-1-2. As compared to the Lightning, who were 4-6-0, they were playing under 500 hockey, which is a little bit surprising. But when it comes to this sort of thing, it's going to have to be very, very close checking. The only person that's out for the Lightning is Tanner Jeannot, who's currently listed as day-to-day, upgraded off the IR for a lower body injury. For the Leafs, it's Victor Mete with a lower body injury. He's been ruled out. Robertson is out for the season with a shoulder injury. Eric Gustafsson is day-to-day with an upper body injury. Matt Murray is day-to-day with his concussion. Mark Giordano is day-to-day with an undisclosed injury. Bobby McMahon is out because he had knee surgery. Ilya Samsonov is out day-to-day. That's an undisclosed injury. And Sam Lafferty is day-to-day, also undisclosed.
I'm going to guess that the Samsonov one's a groin injury.
I'm going to guess that you're probably right, which means at this point here, we are hoping for Justin Wall, and we are hoping for Eric Källgren to be ready to go should the need arise.
No college goaltenders this time?
Not sure who they're going to get for the ATO this time around, but if Cujo were
That's
to suit
over. No
up,
playoffs. It's over. You don't have to worry about that stuff. That stuff don't matter no more. The cap is irrelevant as of today for every team, so that's not an issue. Um, somewhere in there was some stuff about what the game will look like. Here's what the game will look like, in my opinion, for the Leafs to win. The Leafs will have to play through a lot of BS that Tampa's going to throw at them, and by BS I mean the kind of calls that tempt officials, and sometimes they don't make the calls. Last year, they were very successful with the clutch and grab, the grabbing of the stick. They were very fortunate in getting calls made against the Leafs, identical, not made to them. For the Leafs to win, they're going to have to rise above that. This isn't me complaining. This is just me making a simple point. The Leafs have to be better than the Tampa Bay Lightning and at least one of the referees. They're just going to have to do that. They're going to have to be better than those seven guys that are on the ice. So I guess I am saying they're going to be playing shorthanded the whole game. Of course they will be playing shorthanded. But you know what? This team is that good that they can beat all seven of those people. And it can happen for them. All they have to do is play to their ability. That's what it'll look like if they win. They won't let stuff get to them, starting with Marner, who won't take any, he can't, he does carry this team to a very large degree, scoring wise, especially since Matthews decided I'm going to pay attention to my end a little more than I used to. So he's going to have to score like he can. Marner's going to avoid being concerned after making a mistake, which he'll do. Being human, he'll make a mistake, and he won't let it bother him. The other thing the Leafs are going to need is the consistency that the goaltending has provided them the past couple of weeks. It doesn't matter who was in, whether it was Samsonov or Wall. And even going back when Murray was in goal, before he got hurt, he was doing okay. I think he was doing okay then. He was on a good path before the concussion. So they're going to need that. And it appears if they're going to play without their oldest defenseman, somebody's going to have the kind of maturity and I think leadership on the back line to ensure that the panic button and the running around in your own end doesn't happen. That's the kind of stuff. If the Leafs aren't running around in their own end, they're going to do fine. Now I'll go first, and then you can go after me. What will it look like if for Tampa to win? For Tampa to win, Leafs are going to have to take some stupid penalties, and they're going to have to lose their patience, and they won't play the disciplined game that they've been playing lately. They will play like they're on the road. If they play like they're at home, the Leafs play. If they play like they're at home, they could have a problem. It'll be a game for Tampa. The Leafs have to play like they're on the road. In other words, they can't worry about what the game looks like. What matters is playing to win.
no, for sure, I agree with you on that. It's definitely maintaining discipline. If the Leafs happen to lose control, and that sometimes happens, we all know that the referees have been keying on Michael Bunting. If the referees continue to key on Michael Bunting as they have, for the latter half of the year, that will effectively eliminate Matthews and Marner, who are together on the first line during practice today. That's effectively going to eliminate their first line. That makes the road forward a lot easier for Tampa Bay. In addition, you're looking at Tavares on the left, Ryan O'Reilly up the center, and William Nylander on right. That was another one of the looks at practice today. Again, John's a great player, but his unfamiliarity, having spent most of his career at center, is going to be something that is definitely going to play into Tampa Bay's game plan as well. They're going to look to isolate on him as the weak spot when it comes to breaking out of their zone, because he's not used to playing up there on the left hand side. And B, defensive responsibilities are going to be key as well. Yarncroke, Achari, Kerfoot on the third line. Tampa Bay is going to be throwing up against them. They're going to be throwing up Isamont, Nick Paul, and Ross Colton. That is going to be a very interesting matchup for them. Patrick Maroon, Pierre-Edouard Bellemare, and Corey Perry on the fourth line as well are going to be huge in it for Tampa Bay. Corey with the stuff after the whistle, Patrick Maroon with the big open ice hits, and Pierre-Edouard Bellemare just being a disruptor up the middle. That line is going to be one of the key ones, I think, for Tampa. Stamkos, Point, and Kucherov up front on the first line is basically a line that takes care of themselves. They'll need to be going on all cylinders as well. Stamkos from the left-hand face-off dot, which is his spot just as much as it is Ovechkin's. The way that everything's going to shake out, like I said, if Tampa plays more disciplined than the Maple Leafs, they'll end up winning.
As far as the Tavares thing on left wing with O'Reilly at center, Aaron, I see that they have an option there that could really confuse Tampa. They can switch off. Doesn't matter who takes the face-off. They can decide after the face-off who's going to play center. And that could afford the Leafs with a bit of confusion for Tampa. And if they want to key on, let's say, if they want to key on the centerman and they think it's O'Reilly, and the Leafs switch off, all of a sudden they're not. Now that player that was going to watch the centerman is now watching the right winger or left winger, and then it's all. I think it's going to be an interesting move, and watch how it happens, because you're going to see O'Reilly and Tavares take faceoffs and not necessarily be the center iceman. And I think that's going to be a very important factor with a team like Tampa that likes to be disciplined. And most of all, they like to take players out of the play. That's their main strength is they play the man. And while they're playing the man, they make sure that man is either out of position in a key time on the defensive zone, or out of the play, and keep them out of the play in the offensive zone. So the Leafs are going to have to be disciplined and also persistent. The other thing that I didn't mention before that I think is really important as well, Aaron, they can't allow 48 shots.
No.
And if they get 48 shots, they've got to score more than 2 goals.
No, for sure, guaranteed. One of the other things that I was actually looking at here, Tampa Bay is actually at a bit of a disadvantage because they are the road team for the majority of the series. Tampa Bay was 28-8-5 at home. The Leafs were 27-8-6, so very similar records there. It's pretty much a saw-off at home. But on the road, the Leafs are 23-13-5. To Tampa Bay is just 18-22-1. That's a bit of a disparity right there that I think the Maple Leafs should certainly be able to key on.
That's coaching.
Yeah, and adaptability. Yeah, it's also last change at home is going to be key for the Maple Leafs.
And as usual, the Tampa coach throws a little chum into the waters, talking about the Leafs are a very disciplined. They're a terribly good defensive team now. Yeah, okay. We know when he sends compliments, what Cooper does.
A little bit of ego stroking to sort of put the enemy at ease, I think, is a decent part of psychological warfare. And John Cooper has proven himself to be very, very good at that. As a former attorney, obviously, it's things like that are his bread and butter. So,
and my prediction for tonight is that Auston Matthews gets a hat trick for Tuesday.
Well, that'll be interesting to see for sure.
A hat trick and that doesn't mean they'll win.
No, just a hat trick would be nice, though. Just to prove that there's
it'll get them there. It'll get them to where they want to be. We also, when it comes to the Maple Leafs, we wonder how the fans will be. Do you think this will be a season where, I guess it'll be depending on the weather. I mean, today it's a little bit cold out there. Tomorrow it's supposed to be warmer. We should see a pretty good crowd outside the ACC, or what do they call it now? The Scotiabank Center now?
Yeah, outside Scotiabank Arena in Maple Leaf Square. You'll probably see a decent gathering of folk as long as it's not overly cold. Weather for tomorrow is a little bit up in the air. It's currently 5 degrees right now. I know I'd be out there with a jacket and at least a thin pair of gloves, as well as standing pretty close to the restroom if I'm drinking the overpriced
under your hockey jersey. Under your hockey jersey, of course.
Under my hockey jersey, of course. No, the jacket goes on and then the jersey goes on top.
There you go. And when you say thin gloves, you don't mean hockey gloves. You mean
no. Tomorrow it's supposed to be cloudy and windy with a 30% chance of precipitation. We're talking a high of 6 and a low of 1. So for those individuals who are, yes, exactly. So that
snow,
thermals, guys.
We had hail here this afternoon.
Oh goodness, really?
Little tiny spitters, little tiny
Yeah.
spitters. They were tiny little guys. They were bouncing off the stairs going down. Yeah, so it was there. It was that kind of stuff. Let's talk a little bit about. Does well? You wanted me to ask you: is hot and cold an issue here?
Well, that's really up for debate, isn't it? I mean, just because you're hot coming out of the regular season doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be hot going into the playoffs. I
We've
mean,
seen that.
Boston, especially in that year that Tampa Bay had a record-setting season in which they won, a huge number of games, but then turned around and lost 4 in a row to Columbus. That's one of those things where it's like, yeah, you were super hot during the regular season. I mean, uh, the Bruins have set a new record with 65 wins and 135 points, but all that isn't going to mean anything if they turn around and throw in a stinker against the Florida Panthers.
They're gonna be physical. Florida's gonna be physical.
Oh, for sure.
There are gonna be a lot
And
of penalties in that game.
Marchand isn't going to be able to hide behind Chara anymore. Coincidentally, Chara just finished the Boston Marathon today. So as he was crossing the finish line, they actually played the Boston Bruins goal song for him. So that was a nice touch. But, other hot teams coming into the playoffs, Edmonton is 18-2-1 in its past 21 games. They've been absolutely on fire. The Vegas Golden Knights were 9-1-3. They only lost once in regulation since March 19th. Colorado won 16 of their last 19 games. Dallas won 6 in a row and 8 of their last 9. Tampa Bay unfortunately went 9-11-2 since March 1st. They post the 23rd ranked points percentage of 455. So that's something concerning. The Winnipeg
That's
Jets
why the
dropped
Leafs
8 of
can't
9
leave
games.
any openings for them.
Not at all. They've got to take advantage of every single opportunity
They got to
that they
treat
get.
like it's a road game. Go in there, not be fancy, take everything away from Tampa they can.
Yeah, the one thing that the Leafs are good at is blocking shots. So I would like to see them
They are
take
this
the
year.
opportunity to smother.
But their number one shot blocker, their number one shot blocker is day to day.
Yeah, no, it is true. He is currently day to day. He did take the ice this morning, and he's not on their injured list currently. Only Muzzin, Robertson, and Matt Murray are still listed as being on the Maple Leafs injured reserve list. So he very well could be on the cusp of coming back. They're just keeping it hush hush for now.
And those 3 would have been just scratches anyway.
Yeah.
Because the way Wall's playing, I wouldn't put Murray back in there even as a backup.
No, you know what? And depending on how Samsonov is doing, Wall may be pressed into being the starter. Right?
Well,
It's an unenviable position.
If it's a groin like both of us think, they're gonna treat that with kid gloves.
But it's certainly an unenviable position for Wall to be in. Great for him as a goalie. Don't get me wrong. I would love to see him come in and do well, but because of his lack of experience, it could be a big issue.
He'll need to touch the puck a couple of times at a reasonable amount of time after the game starts, not too long without a shot.
Yeah. And as long as we're not allowing a goal in the first minute.
As a goaltender, you know why I'm saying that.
I do.
So, that's something that they're going to need to be careful of. Let's talk about an important event that happened yesterday. Unfortunately, it meant that Canada didn't win. The U.S. beat Canada.
It was actually a very exciting to watch. Unfortunately, when the United States pulled out those 3 goals right at the end there was really nothing that could be done. I can't say I am disappointed, but I'm not too disappointed because Canada's won 5 separate gold medals in the past 17 months alone. So that's a lot of hardware to bring home in a year and a half. I am a little disappointed that we couldn't pull it out on home turf in Brampton. But at the same time, it was a well-played game and a hard-fought game.
Absolutely. A long history in Peel for women's hockey in Canada. It's one of the original places where the game was played, where it really started. It goes back. I was back there covering when doing play-by-play of I did the first World Championship, the play-by-play of that game. So I have a soft spot for that. Hockey Canada has decided they will fund Hockey Canada on conditions.
That's correct. So the plan was never to permanently pull funding. And the other thing that people need to be aware of before they start squawking about the federal government being an enabler, um, they don't actually kick in a lot of Hockey Canada's operating budget. I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of about, they contribute about 7%, I think, of the organization's funding. So a lot of it comes from private people and from people buying memorabilia
Sponsorship.
and that sort of thing, sponsorships. But part of it is Hockey Canada must tackle issues regarding safe sports such as toxic behaviors, the trivialization of sexual violence, the culture of silence. There's no reason why situations should continue to plague hockey or any other sport for that matter. So as it currently stands, yeah, we're going to be giving you some money back, but you have to show concrete steps and an action plan as to what you've actually been doing with this.
Let's be clear about something. Hockey Canada's existence, not financially, but actual existence, relies on the federal government because they could yank that chain real hard. It's not about the money that the government gives, it's the support that it gives for its existence. Let me remind you folks what I mean by existence. They work under the Canadian government. They cannot work. They cannot exist without the blessing of the Canadian government. Never mind the money. Put the money aside. The money's irrelevant because they could literally pull their card. It's like the government
Yeah.
could pull our driver's license. Same thing, folks. So it's very important that Hockey Canada behave in a manner that's reasonably expected, right? On the other hand, I think, Aaron, I'm going to take a little bit of the devil's advocate here and suggest that the federal government needs to make sure that what they expect from Hockey Canada as an organization that they support is no less or more than what they expect of any other organization. So I don't want to see, I don't think it would be right or fair if the federal government treated Hockey Canada differently than they treated the other sports entities. So that's one thing I'd say. I'd want to make sure of that as well. A final word to you, Aaron. Pick a story. Tell us all about it.
Well, I'm just looking at there was a case recently in Hamilton where a teenager who didn't feel safe walking their bike across the road decided to ride their bike across the crosswalk. They got struck by a vehicle and then got ticketed while they were in their hospital bed after having been treated. The bylaws are that you can't ride your bike in a crosswalk. You should walk it across. But I believe in a situation like this, accommodations should have been made for the 16-year-old who didn't feel comfortable walking their bike across the road.
Um, I don't feel comfortable parking a car between the yellow lines, Aaron.
Hey, that's on you. You can get a ticket for that if you
I'm
want.
just saying, I'm just saying, I don't know what
I'm just
comfort
saying.
has to I don't know what comfort has to do with somebody abiding by the rules.
Well, Hamilton police say that you're technically not supposed to ride a bike in a crosswalk. I understand that, but at the same time, you know what shouldn't be in a crosswalk at the same time as a bike? A car.
Right.
I just, just putting that out there.
Okay. All right. So there were cars there.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Listen, he's Aaron William Freeland. I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Want to thank you for watching. Remember, this show can be seen on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 6 p.m. We hope you'll join us for them each and every week. And if you want to watch stuff like this, you can watch it on the Spanglish World Network. And believe me, folks, we have a lot to show you. So you can also check out what we do here on my YouTube channel, Candid Frank Stanisci 1030. Thank you for watching, everybody. For Aaron William Freeland, I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching.